Hi, it's Kristen here. Welcome to another process video. And today I'm working on day 19 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life. And I am going to be working on a Harry Potter layout. So we just had our vacation down in Florida. So we were at Disney for a few days. I think like it was technically 4 nights. And then we did Universal. So we had we had bought the wands and all that. So this is some pictures of my son working on using one of the wands. And so it turned on this little umbrella and rain would come out of it. So the paper that I'm using, the black cardstock is just plain black cardstock that I purchased. And then the wizard pieces were actually from an Echo Park paper set. And I think it was called Wizards or something like that. Like it wasn't called Harry Potter, obviously, but it was like very clearly Harry Potter. So I will include the links down below it was 2 different paper lines that I bought. I had thought about doing a border on this, and I kind of wish I had, but by the time I kind of even thought about a border, I already had all this stuff adhered down. So the sketch calls for a couple pieces of paper across with a circle. And then it looks like, a little cluster of embellishments up at the top, a few pictures, which I always end up adding more or less pictures just depending on, kind of what I'm working on with the pictures that I've got. And with this one, I had, I think, 5 pictures of him working with this. So I just decided to work all 5 onto this layout. And this paper line, it had so many cute pieces of paper to this. So I was really struggling with what to use on this. And I almost considered not using black. But because it was going to be a double layout, I didn't have enough of, the same paper to do either side. Although I guess it wouldn't, I could have probably made it work with 2 different pieces of paper. But I wanted it to be clearly, a double page layout. So I decided to just go with the black. And I think I do end up using the same amount of pictures as the sketch called for. However, I do think I kind of rearranged it maybe a little bit differently than how the sketch initially had it. And so I'm going to start going through the ephemera that was included in this line. Now, of course, I had to buy the ephemera separately, but from the paper pack. So it comes with, if you buy Echo Park paper, it comes with the paper and then cardstock stickers. And then they have ephemera, and that's, separately. You can buy that separate. I like this little tag that says you're a wizard. And I feel like that fits really well there. It kind of ties the 2 pieces of paper together. Of course, I've got to work in a wand and a hat. And so I'm just trying to pull different pieces of paper. I feel like this layout took me a while because I kept pausing to watch. I was watching, I don't know if anybody watches the Wrexham show with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. It's a funny show. It's like, of course, it's like kind of a documentary behind the men's Wrexham football team, and then they cover the women's as well. But a lot of time they interview both of those guys, and they're just funny. I always have to kind of pause and watch parts of it. And I'm usually either watching something like that, kind of funny, that I don't have to pay a ton of attention to. It's kind of, background noise, but you catch most of it. It doesn't take like a lot of, you're not going to miss a lot if you miss a little something. Or a lot of time I watch crime shows. So I decide to mount the pictures in just this yellow cardstock. So that was one of the papers that had come in the Echo Park paper. And I had considered putting it on like a black background and double mounting it, but then I just felt like it didn't look right. It started to blend in a little bit since the base paper was black. And so when I start going ahead and getting everything glued down, this little piece says Magical Memories. And then, of course, I pulled in that Believe in the Magic. So I don't necessarily have like a true title on this, but I feel like any one of those could technically be the title. And sometimes I don't really put a title. I mean, you know. Now there's a little tag up there that says Magic Here. And then, of course, I use the wizarding hat there. And I end up cutting off the top. Now, I almost wish I'd just fussy cut this out, because once I cut the top off, I'm like, it kind of looks incomplete. But, you know, it's fine. It's whatever, you know. Again, it's probably something that only I noticed that other people probably wouldn't. So all this ephemera that you see me using, that's all from Echo Park. And I had to cut off the tab of this because after I got that glued down, I couldn't really get it worked in there, so. And so see, you can see where it's like, you know, kind of looks incomplete up there, but. And then I pull, and this was a cardstock sticker. And I don't recall what that says. And I don't have the layout in front of me, so I'm sure you can see it. And then I decided to pull in some more cardstock stickers because I feel like the page kind of just feels like it needs, you know, some extra embellishments. So I'm just looking at everything here. So that one's called Wizards and Witches. Witches and Wizards 2. So that's what the line is called. Witches and Wizards 1 and Witches and Wizards 2. But I mean, it's very clearly like Harry Potter themed. So, and I'm sure for, you know, obvious trademark reasons they can't say Harry Potter. So, but it's very obvious Harry Potter pieces. So. These stacked books don't really, I mean, necessarily, since I'm a big theme scrapbooker, doesn't really go with anything, but, you know, I'm like, I like them there. Makes sense to me. We'll put that there. A couple bottles of potions. And I actually have quite a few Harry Potter pictures to scrapbook, so I got plenty of paper and plenty of ephemera for that. So we tried the butterbeer. Me and my husband did. Really good, but whew, that stuff is sweet. And unfortunately, I ended up going on the Wizarding Ride Harry Potter. So that's at Islands of Adventure. And I got so nauseous on that ride, like just terribly nauseous. And I tend to get motion sick, but I usually do okay on rides as long as they're not spinning around a lot. And that ride, I think between the 3D, the movement, I was so nauseous. Like I felt terrible. I came off that ride. I was cold and clammy and had like a flop sweat. And some of it too was we hadn't eaten anything. And I drank that butterbeer before we got on. I just think it was like just a combo of stuff. I will never get on that ride again. The boys loved it. I hated it. Not that it wasn't a good ride. It just made me so motion sick. And so I couldn't go on anything for a while after that. And then, that day at Universal, it was so busy. Like it was, we couldn't get on Hagrid's. We really wanted to ride Hagrid's. I couldn't get on that because it was like a several hour wait, which it usually is, but we were going to try to use early entry to jump in line on that, but it was raining that morning. So of course everything was, delayed. So it was like, we really didn't go on a ton of rides at Universal just because, we just didn't have, we didn't start our day till a little bit later. We couldn't really get on a lot. Then I felt nauseous. And then we ended up riding the Simpsons ride because we were trying to get on a few more. And that ride beat me up. Plus, it's like a 3D, and I felt nauseous all over again after that one. So it was like, then I was done. I was like, we gotta go. So, anyways, the Harry Potter areas are really cool. So we did ride the train between Islands of Adventure and Universal. So the little label there says be a seeker of everyday magic. So again, I don't really have a specific title on this, and I'm okay with that. And I don't feel like all layouts need titles. I mean, I try to get a title on there or some kind of, something, phrase or something that kind of ties things together. And then that says today is, I think, is when magic happens or something like that. Today we make magic happen. I really don't add a ton of embellishing over there, over on this side. And again, I wish I would have done some kind of a border, just to kind of tie the two sides in. But I think the reason why I didn't do a border is because, again, I don't know that I would have had, 2 sets of paper for it, obviously. So I think that's another reason why I just opted not to do a border, because I had 2 different packs of paper, but, it comes double-sided, and, you have to make a choice with what you like. And I would have had to buy 2 packs of each paper pack, and at that point, then it's just getting to a point where I have more than probably I would need. So I do add in, obviously, a couple wands. I have to do that. And then because I was kind of like, meh, I kind of feel like I need something down here, I put this down here. I don't know that I necessarily love it by the end of it, but I left it there. It's fine. It works okay. And then I work in this label up here, and I don't remember what that says. It says something magic. Get some of these banner pieces up here. And again, I was having a hard time with this layout because I was A, watching TV, B, I think some of it is just if I don't, there was like a lot of ephemera to go with this, but I think sometimes, like with cardstock stickers, I struggle to use them, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I really need to get some of that. What powder do people use to get the stickiness off? Because that's what I need. A lot of time I'll put them on my clothes to try to get the stickiness off, because a lot of time what I want to do is pop them up on 3D foam, and then I never can get enough like stickiness off of it to really use it that way. So I end up, I would have to adhere it to cardstock, and a lot of time, like, I don't want to have to do that, because that's, then you got to fussy cut around it, and it's just like a whole extra thing. So people who use that powder, what do you use and where do you buy it from? I'm sure I could probably just buy talc powder, but I don't know like what's safe for photographs and things like that. I'm sure there's probably products that are out there that are made for scrapbooking, maybe for that, I don't know. So I kind of had a hard time picking out the ephemera, because there was a lot of really cute stuff, and I was like, what do I use on this? And I kind of felt like I kept getting stuck a little bit. I went pretty simple, really, for me, for embellishments. And I don't know what this little thing says here, because I can't read it. It's too small on my screen here. And I will end up adding some journaling up at the top left, just so then that way you kind of know what was going on in the picture. So I haven't added that yet, but I will before I put these into their protective sleeves. And I want to add more embellishments. Like you can tell, like I think I pulled these off because I felt like they were kind of sticking out a little bit too much, like a sore thumb up there. So I ended up putting them on either side of this, just because then that way I felt like that anchored a little bit more and gave a little bit more attention to that semi-title there. I don't know. Word phrase, I guess. But I think, like, really for me, like, I was wanting to add more and more and more, and I'm like, then it'll just get to be too much. I do end up adding this owl up here, because, again, there's a story with my son and owls, so, which if you've watched any of my other YouTubes, that's kind of his, I guess, his spirit animal, I suppose. And I do end up adding a few more of those stickers back up there. And you can see where I didn't totally have the two papers lined up. I hadn't cut the one completely flush. And I knew that as I was adhering it down, but quite honestly, I was like, I don't care enough to take it back and like cut it down. So I just left it as is. It didn't really bother me that much. I do end up putting a broom up here because, again, I'm like, I need more embellishments. I just feel like I need more on here. And here are some close-up shots. I think it turned out fine. I can be a little bit of an over-embellisher. So I think for me, I just felt like there wasn't a lot of embellishments. But, it's simple. Gets the point across. Get a couple more pictures documented. And here once I journal, I'll add to it too as well. And I appreciate you coming by to watch another process video. Please like and subscribe. I'm trying to build my YouTube channel page up. I do not get paid. I am not endorsed. This is just something that I do in my spare time. And I appreciate you coming by.